soil has like a ladder. The lower you are in microbiology, the lower things you can grow there. That's why it only grows weeds.
Right.
But the higher you go in that succession, the more rich your soil is in life, it can hold life.
Let's be honest, cheap, watered down drinks aren't cutting it anymore. Raw Beverage Trading partners with venues that want to win. We develop bold, consistent, damn good products made with real ingredients because your customers can taste the difference. Matcha, we're on it. Cold brew, best in class. We're not here to chase pennies. We're here to build brands, loyalty, and bottom line profits. Stop letting cost controllers call the shots. Raw is where margin meets meaning. If you're looking for a partner, not just a supplier, contact sales@rawcoffee.ae or check the show notes for details. Well, welcome to the Map of Forward Middle East podcast. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and this is episode 3 of a 5-part series with Angela Barrero from Bodega de la Finca in Colombia. We are talking about whether we will have coffee and cacao in 25 years from now. Friends, if you are wondering why we're having this conversation, I want to kind of put you in the picture a little bit. So the price of coffee has more than doubled this year. And the reason that the price of coffee has more than doubled is because of a lot of reasons, but one of the main reasons is because the supply of coffee has significantly dropped. The same thing happened with cacao, but a year earlier than coffee. And so what we are finding out is that for a lot of reasons, it is getting harder to grow coffee, and there are less people that want to go to the trouble of growing coffee. And so for many, many reasons, those two just being 2 reasons, for many, many reasons, there is less coffee. Now, if in this episode, we're going to talk about regenerative agriculture, and that is one way to help us solve one problem. It doesn't fix the other problem where there's a lot less people that are saying, I want to be coffee farmers. Many people who have coffee farms are saying, I want to sell my farm. That, when it's time for the next generation to inherit them, they're saying, I'm going to sell my farm to ecotourism or to developers or to somebody else who doesn't want to grow coffee. And then we have the other side of it where we've got people who are saying, okay, I'm going to try and solve this problem. And this is where Angela is one of those people. Angela, on their farm, they were told by the FNC, the FNC is the Coffee Federation of Colombia, they were told that because the temperature went up so high, more than 5 degrees, that they could not grow coffee on that farm anymore. And at the time, I'm just shortcutting it, Angela, so that we can start talking about regenerative. At that time, Angela was working in palm oil. And while she was working in palm oil, they were trying to solve some problems of this particular bug, like a super bug, called Plitophyra. And this had infected the trees in the palm oil trees. And Angela was working, this was big agriculture, and Angela was trying to help to solve the problem of how we can get rid of this superbug that was infecting the trees. And biochar, which we mentioned in the previous episode, was a part of that process. Now, biochar is one part of a bigger system that we call regenerative agriculture. And this is a solution that we are working very hard at Map of Forward to help people understand across the entire supply chain, because all of us have to understand what role we can play in helping coffee farmers that want to stay in farming to grow more coffee, because consumption is much higher and it is outpacing the supply. What does this mean for us as an industry? This means that if you don't have relationships with farmers who are engaging in regenerative agriculture, you may not be able to get access to coffee. Angela is a farmer who is not only engaging in regenerative agriculture, she is also teaching it. Angela had to come back to her family and convince them that regenerative agriculture was going to be something that they had to invest in, and it is an investment. So, Angela, talk to us, help us understand what regenerative agriculture is.
It's an agriculture that restores ecosystem and gives back life to the soil.
Mhm.
So soils have a life within the soil. We don't see it, but below the soil, when you have living soils, these you have a microbiology that allows plants to feed.
Mhm.
So what feeds the plant is not the fertilizer. What feeds the plant is the life you have in the soil that it's kind of like nurturing the plant,
Right.
giving something called exudado, which I don't know the word in English, but it's like they secrete a
Mhm.
substance plants can eat and
Mhm.
digest.
And this is bacteria. Help people understand what you mean by life in the soil.
So we have bacteria that promote growth, and we have mycorrhizae, which is also like a bacteria that promotes the root to have a good system. We have potassium, phosphorus solubilizers, fixing nitrogen. There are like hundreds. Like there is like a rear
Right.
called microbiology, and they have especially agronomists that they know this life in the soil. So when you have farms that used to have a lot of years having herbicides, so each time you put an herbicide, you don't only kill the weed, but you kill the whole life below.
Mhm.
So think about like a ladder of succession.
Mhm.
I love a page called The Food Soil Web by Elaine Ingham, which is also like a very inspiring woman and amazing. And she
Mhm.
has all this knowledge in a web page. It's free. You can get it access. So she says soil has like a ladder. The lower you are in microbiology, the lower things you can grow there. That's why it only grows weeds.
Right.
But the higher you go in that succession, the more rich your soil is in life, it can hold life. And so what we do in regenerative ag is we do amendments and we do like teas. The way I can think it very easy is like think about a large tea you do in a tank with a little bag full of this living soil or for example, a compost tea, and we make liquid phases of this microbiology, which then we apply to the trees. So for example, for coffee trees, I use 2 to 3 liters per tree for the big ones. And for cacao, I use 5 to 10 liters per tree per
Wow.
application, 3 times a year, 4 times a year. It depends. And if you are in a drought, you need to. We almost applied it every month when we had the drought, and it works like a drench. It's like a shot. You apply to the root to keep the root in a
Healthy.
in a non-stress
Right.
in a non-stress situation, because plants for giving crops, plants need to be like in a comfort zone. If plants get stressed, they might bloom, because stress is related to blooms. But
Okay.
these blooms, they do not get for a tree, for a fruit. They abort the fruit. You lose. That's why, like in coffee, you might have these big blooms, and then they become leaves.
Right. So if I understand you correctly, that when the tree gets stressed, it tries to shortcut the natural process of reproduction by forcing it to happen early, and then it lets go of the flowers. It drops the flowers to the ground, or it turns them into leaves.
It turns them into leaves, or it aborts. So you have the flower and it never becomes a fruit.
Right.
So for me, it's like I see it like a woman to be able to have a baby. You need to have nutrients. You have to have good nutrition.
You have to be in good health.
You don't like. You need to be like mental health. Okay, you need to be like that. That's plants as well. If a plant is not very well fed and is stressed, and it's not gonna do a good harvest.
Right.
So you need to have the appropriate nutrients, but also what the microbiology does to the plant, it's making her feel she's in the comfort zone. In spite it isn't.
Right.
Like in spite you have this drought, if you have foliars, if you apply foliars, if you apply this microbiology to the root, the plant is gonna think she's happy, like she's not in this stress situation, so you won't have this drop in production. And but this requires you to collect rainwater, because this water you make these teas, you can't have chloride there. You can't have, because
Wow.
chloride kills the life.
It's like a
And
bleach,
so
right?
so you need to, on the weather, on the rainy months, you need to collect this water, and then for the drought months, you can use this water you collect and you make teas. And so farms have to have like a biofabrica where you begin doing these preparations with the things you have available. So, for example, my farm has a lot of cattle around, and farmers don't know what to do with the suero de leche, which is when they do cheese, a water comes out.
The whey.
And
It's called whey.
the way, So they have plenty of that, and they don't know what to do with it. So we have tanks, and we send them to them, collected there with a lid very close, and then bring it to the farm. And so we use a lot of that. But every farmer has to find what can be available around.
Right.
And we use, so because microbiology, it's sweet, so they like sugar. They need sugar. They need yeasts. And they also can have whey for feeding it.
Protein.
So like a farmer, I feed the microbiology. So this is weird. Like people, they say, okay, are you buying that for a cow? What are you doing? And I am getting all these materials to feed my microbiology.
Right.
Because I know if I have living soil, I can have a good harvest.
And is regenerative agriculture all about the soil?
It's about the soil, but about the ecosystem, because you need to give the crop the as I told you at the beginning. I feel like I just have to give it the good how can I say that word? It's like you are like a concert.
You're
and
a
you
conductor.
and
You're the orchestra conductor.
orchestra, and you give the good condition for the plant to grow. So if you need, if you have a soil that is very acid, we need to correct that. And if you need more nitrogen, then we need to grow more beans. And if you have a compacted soil, then we need to grow these potatoes, this kind of potatoes, so they can give oxygen to that soil, because compactation is very bad. And so with the regenerative act, you kind of invest on the long-term run. So because cacao is a farm, it's an investment over 20, 30 years. And anything is like a saving account. So your soil is like a saving account. If you work for the soil, if you apply biochar and then the next year more biochar, you will end up, it's a cumulative. You don't
It's
lose it. It's
cumulative,
not like a
right?
bag of fertilizer.
Right.
You buy the fertilizer, you applied it, you lost
And
it.
it's gone.
Like it's volatile, you lost it, or plant took the minerals and that's it. But when you work with the getting more uh, organic matter to the soil, you do like a savings account in your soil. But it's also the ecosystem. So some plantations as coffee, they require you to be agroforestry. So this means we're growing trees. In my case, we have like 500 trees we have planted over these years. And this year we need to plant more. We were like walking and we still find areas. It's a lot of sun. We need more shade. We need more trees. And so those trees, they take like 10 years to grow. But it's my way to be able to be alive in 10 years,
To
still
survive as a
grow.
business.
Yes.
Right.
So it's an investment, Lee, and it's also I see in mobiliary as well. Like because farms is land, and this land will have a price that is going up. So the more you stay with the farm, you also get the valorization of the land.
Right. You're increasing the capital value by keeping it agricultural land because it could be something that you could sell on to continue. Agricultural land is becoming hard to come by. So this
Yes,
is a great investment that you're making in the future of your asset.
it's an asset. You
Right.
see the millionaires, they are buying good lands.
Yeah.
But
Fertile
for
land.
me as an for me as a regenerative, I see it there is no bad land. Even if your land is bad, you can
Change it.
restore the land and change it and make it an asset.
Tell me something. Is this something, let's say, for farmers in Saudi Arabia and in Yemen, but particularly I know that they're trying to solve some problems that they have in Saudi Arabia. Is this something that could regenerative be used to help them produce better crops in Saudi Arabia?
Regenerative anywhere in the world. You just have to create an environment
Mhm.
that thrives for the crop.
Right.
So it's a system you build,
Oh, that's great.
and the nature itself begins to change and give you the path. But it's not a path. It's very clear. Like so that's why people don't. They feel it's risky. They feel it's risky, and
Right.
the first year you don't see a lot of results. But when, for example, when we had the drought over 2 years, our neighbors, they were like saying, "Where is the irrigation system? Please, I
Right.
want to see it because my farm looks so green. Everything around was like yellow, dying." And we said, like, there is no irrigation. So people had to come to the farm really to see there was no irrigation.
Because you were using biochar.
So yeah, I think each part of the world, we need as the world, we need to give back life to soil to
Right.
be able to grow.
Right.
I know, for example, in very dry areas, they use even stones. They like use stones. They use this pottery. They dig in and they put
Clay.
the pottery in like clay pots, and I think ancestral knowledge will
Yes.
give us a lot of information.
Yeah.
The thing is, the revolution, the green revolution, like wipe out the ancestral knowledge. Here in our farm, we began doing what Abuelito used to do. We think about like if he was alive, what he have done. And somebody comes with the idea, he would have do a trench and put the trees inside, and we'll bring some fungi and do this, and let's do it. Let's try it.
Yes.
Small parts, like you do a very small part, but you have to become like a scientific farmer and do try error, not in big areas, but like 50 trees. Is it working? Yes. What did we do? We have to record all the things we do. We have to write it down. What did you put there to work? And then let's replicate that in our parts.
Yeah,
And
wow.
so it's a learning curve.
And folks, if you're listening to this and you are interested in, I know people are listening to this from Saudi and they're very connected to helping really to increase the yields that are happening in Saudi as well as in Yemen. I really would encourage you to check out the regenerative ag workshops and the biochar workshops. What you hear the professors, Angela, Morillo, Felipe, Joao, Carlitos, they all say the same thing. You have to test the soil, understand what's in the soil, and from there, then you can start making decisions from there. And then it becomes a puzzle that you need to solve. How do you restore harmony back to the soil? Angela's smiling like she's a professor who has a student who learnt and did her homework. I was a very good student. Okay. The fourth episode of this series, we're going to talk about what are the solutions that can contribute to the longevity of coffee and cacao. So join us for that episode. Peace, love, and peanut butter. Have an amazing rest of your day. This episode is part of a 5-part series produced by Mapper Forward. Check the full playlist and guest details in the show notes, as well as how you can support our work in the coffee industry. Become a premium YouTube subscriber, explore our Patreon and any brands we've partnered with to bring you this podcast. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It really does help us grow our audience.